It was like airborne.
David here with DRC Garage. I got my locker and my fan in the mail. They both came. I've got both of them on now. The makes a world of difference. I was able to go up stuff I couldn't even put tires on before. So much so that I almost smoked my clutch and the vehicle wouldn't idle anymore on the way home. So here's the aluminum radiator. When I originally had the electric fan on this thing, it wouldn't fit on this side back here because it was coming in contact with the pulley. So what I did was I pushed the radiator all the way forward on the top and slid it in on the back up here. So I got my old radiator over here. You can see it was on the front of the radiator, and it's a way thicker fan. This nice aluminum one with the aluminum shroud and everything. This is a slim fan. It's only 2.5 inches wide. So when I did that originally, my upper radiator hose had failed, and this was the temporary fix for it. But now that I got this thing, I pushed the mounts all the way back the way they should. So now they're straight up and down like they should be. And so I had to throw an extra little piece on. So I've got the brand new upper hose that I'm going to take off and replace right now, so that way it's nice and factory and clean and doesn't have this hideous thing here anymore. And also, the temperature probe, if I can get it to focus, right there. That little guy is supposed to ground the relay going to the fan at 185 degrees. And then it will turn off at 165 degrees. Well, in typical eBay fashion, they sent me a bad switch. So my fan is just constantly running all the time now because that switch is bad. So they are sending me a new switch that I'm going to put in there, and hopefully that will make it to where the fan comes on and off automatically. And on the front locker, when I was doing the locker, I was recording it. I recorded getting this side knuckle, tire, hub, axle shaft all out, and I got the other side out. And as I was working on the differential, pulling the diff out to put the locker in, my wife, who was recording, got a stomach ache and went inside. So by the time I pulled the diff out, got it up on the table, I no longer had someone recording, and I could not find my tripod. So I didn't get footage of me putting the locker in the differential. But it is in there. And later today, I found a guy on Marketplace who has 4 stock YJ leaf springs here in my town. He only wants $50 for them. So I'm going to go pick up 4 factory YJ leaf springs, and I'll have to order the kit or build my own to adapt those leaf springs to this and get some longer shocks. So when I took this yesterday, I found the problem. Now that I have a locker, I can go places. And now that I can go places, I can go harder places, but I don't have the gearing. I almost smoked my clutch yesterday, and I was struggling to have power to get up stuff. So the next thing on the list is definitely going to be gearing. I need to get a transfer case cradle and a gear set. So I'm going to get the leaf springs today, probably leave them sitting for a little while. Then I'm going to go ahead and order the gears and the skid plate for the transfer case, throw those in, and then as soon as those are in, I'll work on getting the kit stuff to put the YJ leaf springs on, and I got to get longer shocks for it as well. So a lot more to do on it. And here's the footage of that. so since I didn't get video footage of the diff, I drew up so I can basically explain it. So on a regular axle, say Dana 35, Dana 44s, 1 tons, more common axles, they have a cover over the diff. You pop that cover off and this is what you'll see. You'll see the ring and pinion, and then down in here are the spider gears. I'm not the best at drawing, so don't make fun of it. But there's, on these type of axles, there's 4 spider gears, 2 on the sides and then 2 on the top and bottom. And as this rotates, the axle shafts spin at different speeds, allowing these spider gears to turn, which is what will make it to where one tire will sit there and spin while the other one sits still, because all these spider gears are just sitting here spinning instead of the tire. So on this axle, what you do is these 2 spider gears, this one on the top and the bottom, you take both those spider gears out and then both the side spider gears out, and say a Spartan locker, which is what I used, it would replace all 4 of these spider gears. There are the 2 outer pieces, and then there's the 2 inner pieces. The 2 inner pieces have splines that spline up to the outer pieces, and then in the middle have springs and detents in it. And it allows it, how a Spartan locker works is when not the drive shaft is applying torque, but say you're off the gas and you're turning a corner. This tire wants to spin at a different speed than this tire. So the Spartan locker will unlock itself and allow one tire to rotate at a different speed than the other one, allowing you to turn nicely. But then when you give it gas or you apply torque through the drive shaft, it locks that locker up. So when you're going up obstacles, it'll lock it up and it'll spin both tires, won't allow it to slip. But then when you're driving around, it'll unlock. Which is why on shorter wheelbase vehicles and some vehicles, when you get off the gas, it'll kind of jolt one way, and then you get on the gas, it'll jolt the other way. That's because the locker is locking and unlocking. Now on Toyotas, lots of Toyotas and Samurais, they have a different axle design. They have basically an axle housing, and when you remove, they don't have a diff cover. What you remove is the entire third member, and it has the ring and pinion, spider gears, and all that in one unit. These are kind of cool because you can basically just pull out your whole differential from under the car in a few minutes once you get your axle shafts out, and that's how the Samurais are. So once I pulled my diff out, got this piece, the third member, up on the table, this is what it looks like. So this is the ring and pinion gear. This is what comes from the drive shaft, the worm gear, spins on the ring and pinion right here, rotating the diff. And this is what that third member kind of looks like, see-through. So right here, you can see these little nuts I drew and this top cap on top of the housing right here for the spider gears. If you pop that off, this is what you would see all down inside it. There's 4 cross pins on these, 2 short ones and 1 long one that go all the way through. And then there's a little square piece in the middle that those cross pins go into, basically supporting them and strengthening them. And then there's the 4 spider gears on all 4 sides. I actually have those right here. This is what those spider gears look like. So when you install a Spartan locker, you remove all 4 of these spider gears and you replace it with the Spartan locker. So, see if I can kind of get it set up here. Basically, these spider gears would be in your diff like this, rotating on each other to allow slip back and forth. And lockers remove that. So, I gotta wipe my hands off. So those gears I just showed are spider gears. In a locker, the Spartan locker, this is what it consists of, at least on the Samurai. On a normal axle, it would be 4 of the big pieces, the 2 outer pieces and then the 2 inners. But on Samurais, they use the stock side gears. So what you do is you pop open the case here, and then see this big circle? So this big gear down in here, that's your bottom side gear, your bottom spider gear. And on this third member design with the Samurai, you leave the stock side gears in place, and the Spartan locker here, it meshes up with the stock side gear right here. So you remove these two spider gears. There would be two more over here as well, though. There'd be four total. There'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that bottom piece. So you'd remove all four of those side little spider gears, but you'd leave the very bottom side gear in place. And then what you would do is you would mesh the splined part of this Spartan locker side gear up against that bottom side gear. And in the middle here, this is what it would look. So the back side of this would look like this. And these springs right here and detents, you'd put, each side has 2 holes and then 2 little beveled parts for it to ride in and have a little bit of play. So you would take 2 of these little detents and springs, put them in here and here, and then you would take the other 2 and put them in the same 2 holes but on the other side. And then when you put them together, there would be a detent sticking out of both these holes with the springs. So when you put them together, the 2 detents and springs that would be on the back side of this piece would ride in these little cutouts here, these reliefs. And then you would put those 2 together, then you would drop them down in the diff here, and then it comes with 2 big thick washers. You just plop those down in the middle right there, and then you put your little square. So you see the little square down in there with the 4 little cross pins. That's this right here. So on the Samurai, it's got this big square to reinforce the cross pins because there's 2 short ones. You can't have them both going all the way through. So this is the side of that cross pin piece. There's the 2 short cross pins that go in this way and then the long one through this way. So you put the big washer in the bottom, you put the square, all your cross pins in, then you put the other big washer and then the top Spartan locker gear, and then you put the cap back on with the stock side gear, and that's all there is to it. On this, what makes this diff cool is you can pull it out and you don't have to mess with the pinion depth at all. Only thing you have to mess with is the side to side, the backlash. And on these axles, they have a little rotating, like a locking nut on the side that allows you to rotate it and move it back and forth. So I got that back within 6 thousandths, which is almost perfect. And then I went and threw that all back in the diff. One thing that is important when you put these lockers in is the side gears in the diff, the stock ones, you have to remove the shims or else you won't be able to get your locker in there properly and it won't allow it to release and actually unlock. You have to remove the 2 big washers on each side and all these. And so this is what you'll be left with. All your stock cross pins, stock side gear, what are those called? Shims. And then you'd basically just slap the diff back in, axle shafts and everything in the reverse order that you took it out in. And that's all there is to it. It's a pretty easy locker to install. They get more complicated when you do an e-locker. Actually, e-lockers are really simple. They're just electronic. But you do have to redo all of your gear patterns and everything because they're an entire unit. I wasn't able to record me installing the diff, so I drew up this to basically explain and show how I put the diff in. And that's all there is to it. Still a little bit pressurized. And here goes all my coolant. Yay! It's actually not too much. That is no good. It is hideous. This is pretty. Well, not really, but better than what was on there. think I need to cut it a little bit. On lots of older cars, the correct length and size hoses are hard to make and find. So what they do is they get it close and then they advertise it as cut to fit. So it's a little too long, so I'm going to have to cut a little bit off the end. No big deal. Better to have to cut it twice because you didn't take enough off than to take too much off and not be able to go back. So we'll cut a little off and then see where it's at. Alright, no more kinks. Actually, might need to take a little bit more out still. Still need to take a little bit off. There we go. Perfect. I will remove my billet aluminum radiator cap. This thing actually wouldn't fit with that cap, but it fit with the original cap. But I liked the billet cap, so I took a sledgehammer to my hood, and now the billet cap fits. Problem solved. That much coolant, only the stuff out of the hose came out, so I should just be perfectly fine with refilling it. I shouldn't have to bleed it. Now I will put my beautiful billet aluminum radiator cap back on. It's so pretty. Actually, I am also going to replace the crappy hose clamps down in there because one of them is leaking. So, this is the cheap hose clamp that came with that silicone hose kit, and if it'll focus, you can see that see how right here it's bent in. That's because it bent it in and just started spinning on it rather than tightening it, because you can't really get any clamping force on these. They're just kind of junk. So I got these that are twice the thickness. Flatheads way beefier. You can crank this thing down till your pipe breaks, probably.
It's like a foot off the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one, the back one?
Front right one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Alright, come down over there. Get a recording of me behind.
What?
Yeah, right there.
You need some speed.
Give it speed. That is crazy. If I had a rear locker, I would go right out there.
Can I go from the front?
Huh?
Can I go from the front? You got up there. That was awesome. Where?
I gotta go left.
Oh my!
Big air?
Yeah. Did you just honk it?
That was my arm smashing the steering wheel.
trying to get up the obstacle. Dang. Yes! Can I stop recording? Can I stop recording?
Yeah, pause it.
Oh my! What? That's crazy. It was like airborne.
So as you can see, it does a lot better off-road. Before, if there was a tiny little rut or an uphill that would lift one tire, I would just sit there and spin a tire on each side. Couldn't get up it. Now I can go up pretty much anywhere I point it. Some spots you can see that I need a rear locker as well because my front end would just push forward. But for the most part, it's way more capable. And if I put gears in it, get it to flex some more, it will be a ton more fun off-road. Because I won't having to be popping the clutch, revving it, and bouncing my brains out because I have to go fast. So next is probably gears or the springs, whichever's easier. I'm going to be recording everything, so like it and subscribe. Thanks.